Hi, welcome to the 10 Faces of She podcast. I am Andrea Callahan, and I am so thrilled to have you here with me. This is my very first episode, and when I tell you 10 Faces of She has been in the planning, in the works, on paper, in my vision board, in my mind, uh, since January of 2006. Yes, I know that's a long time. Some journeys take longer than others. Um, I made the decision that I would not allow January 2023 to come in without doing this podcast. Um, if you don't know me, you certainly will get to know that I am an overthinker. I am a recovering perfectionist, a recovering procrastinator, and I like things to be just so. I'm also a planner, and I'm not sure if I said overthinker, but if I haven't, I'm going to accentuate that because that is truly a fact. And so sometimes things get thwarted and just take way too long when you're an overthinker. And when you're a perfectionist, it's just never the right time. So I made the decision that I was going to create this first episode, um, regardless if I feel like I'm not prepared, which I know I am. I'm over prepared. So if I stumble, it's okay. I'm not going to stop and start. If I lose my train of thought along the way, I'm just going to take a deep breath and breathe through it and begin again. And so, all of the hiccups and things that you may hear, if I have technological difficulty, it's okay. I'm going to push through it and we're going to do it together. So, 10 Faces of She is a paradigm that I created in January of 2006. And it was really a response to a traumatic upheaval I had in my life. In 2005, I was diagnosed with lupus. I had a significant career change as a result, and I had a traumatic experience finding my mother deceased in her home. And so by the time the beginning of 2006 came around, I really was partially in shock, severely traumatized, depressed, and sad, and confused, and just lost about what I was going to do the rest of my life as a motherless child, and finding myself embarking on a new career, along with still having the responsibility of maintaining a family and a household. During that time, 10 Faces of She represented courage, evolving, empowered, exceptional, and revolutionary. I had no idea what those words meant, or how they would mean to me, or how they would define my story of finding my way back to joy. And over these years, I've actually been able to process and do the work and really come to some understanding of how we overcome trauma and kind of redirect our lives and our mindset and our spirit, to go from just mediocre, barely surviving, just going through the motions of life, to actually coming out on the other side in joy. So, 10 Faces of She is sort of kind of like, I describe it as personal branding. And I don't mean personal branding in the same sense of, and I guess it could be, but not necessarily that contrived personal branding like you see on influencers on TikTok and Instagram. I don't mean that kind of personal brand. I mean the personal brand that's intrinsically you. We all have a personal brand. You have one, I have one, we all do. And for me, personal branding begins with self love and the courage to be authentically brilliant. So let's talk about it. What is a personal brand? The personal brand is the essence of who you are. It's the unique combination of your energy, skills, experiences that make you one of a kind. Your brand is how you show up in the world. It's your presence. Effective personal branding will differentiate you from anyone else in the world. It will force you to stand out from the competition and allow you to build trust with strangers, friends, family, prospective clients, employers, colleagues, and the various communities from which you belong. Your personal brand is the authentic self. It's you intrinsically. It's the combination of your brilliant moments that position you to thrive. Your brand is a bold self-love, experiencing a joyful, fulfilled life, plus everything in between, including the life interruptions. So I invite you to come with me on this journey to stand in your brilliance because you are worthy of bold self-love, personal achievement, professional success, and a joyful, fulfilled life. All because you are worthy. Knowing your value shifts your intentions. Understanding your purpose changes how you move through life. When you are clear about who you are, your purpose becomes evident. Being authentic transforms the possibilities and it opens up your options. As your confidence grows, so does your expectations. Loving yourself teaches you how others should love you. It teaches you to expect better for yourself. It teaches you to expect more. Loving yourself teaches others how to love you. Be empowered. Be brilliant. So the first pillar of 10 Faces of She is courage. Courage to have self-awareness. Do you ever have that feeling when you suddenly realize that you have no idea who you really are, let alone what you want? You just feel like you're not happy. You're kind of just going through the day-to-day operations of your life. You're just completing one task list into another, serving other people, being present for other people, meeting the needs of everyone else around you, but not yourself. So in these moments, I call on you to be brave and do some self-awareness, do some self-reflection to see, how did you get here? How did we get here? How did I get to the point where I am just not happy? And so the second pillar of 10 Faces of She is evolving. That's self-discovery. Do you know the frustration of knowing you have something amazing within you, but you have no idea what it is or how to figure it out? Everyone has a passion, an it factor, that thing. Some describe it as a way to figure out what it is by asking, what is that thing that you would do for free? And so I would go a step further. Not only what would you do for free, but what is that thing that you do that you could do all day long and the day escapes you? And you look up and realize, oh my God, I've been doing this for hours. Because it just takes you to a peaceful, blissful place. What is that thing? And when you figure out something that you just love and something you adore, then I suggest that you be empowered. Empowered to go get it. Empowered to seek it. And empowered is the third pillar of 10 Faces of She. And empowerment is fueled by self-love. So if you feel like there's something missing in your life, or you feel anxious or sad or lonely or unfulfilled, or battling negative emotions or negative self-talk, I say that's when you pour self-love deeply, more consciously. Empower yourself to love yourself. Love yourself wholeheartedly. Because when you love yourself unconditionally, unapologetically, bold, you begin to evolve. You begin to evolve into the person who most resembles who you want to be. Evolving is the fourth pillar of 10 Faces of She. And sometimes you have to be revolutionary, the fifth pillar of 10 Faces of She. You have to just shake things up. You have to turn things upside down and just be extraordinary, because you know that you want to do different and you want to be different and you want to be better than what you're currently doing. So I ask you to come with me on this journey. Be brave. Know that you're not alone, and you are invited to come in on the 10 Faces of She experience. So in 10 Faces of She, what do we practice? Self-love, which is self-awareness, intentional living, self-care, holistic health, self-determination. I want you to think about for a moment all of the resources that you have in your life, all the resources that you have at your disposal. And those resources we disperse however we see fit. We place our attention on what we value. So if we value those resources, that's what we give attention to. And you can tell a lot about a person, where they direct their focus. So I would like for you just for a moment to think about redirecting your resources. So each of us have valuable resources that are inherent to just living and existing. These resources can be allocated as we see fit. Time, energy, attention, and yes, money are just to name a few. I'm suggesting that we add compassion, empathy, and love as essential resources to offer yourself consistently. So let's talk about self-compassion, for example. It's about your personal feelings that you have about yourself. It's about giving yourself grace, forgiveness, and love, even during the spaces where you are out of bounds, when you make an error, when you make poor judgments, or bad choices. Even when you're making a mess, in these spaces you are still valuable. So it's critically important to spend this resource of self-compassion freely. Self-empathy. That's about loving you in all of your humanness. It's understanding that you are worthy even in the midst of shame. In fact, having compassion for yourself is the greatest gift you can offer during times of hardship and self-reflection. Be kind to yourself. Self-love. It's your duty to do your best to both guard and affirm your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and financial well-being at all times. That's not selfish. It's self-preservation. Care for yourself because you are worthy. Joy begins with self-compassion, empathy, and love. They each partner together to create a space for you to give your body, mind, and spirit what it needs to not only survive, but revive after trauma and to thrive in spite of it. Be bold, be brave, be happy, because you deserve it. So on a day-to-day basis, we make decisions about how we're going to live our life and how we're going to move through the world. And so there are some basic concepts, some basic behaviors that are going to determine whether we go left or right, up and down, or move forward, stand still, or look backwards. And so there are a few things that I would like for you to just consider if they apply to you. These are some few things that you can do that can shift your mindset and set your life on a totally different course. And one of those things is delete all or nothing thinking. There is a highly destructible self-talk known by people who study psychology that's known as all or nothing thinking. The best way to avoid this trap is to avoid trigger words like always and never. When you talk to yourself, don't use those words. How often is anything always? How often is anything never? So I never get what I want, or I always fail in relationships. Is it always never? Is it never always? All or nothing thinking is a way to keep it real with yourself, but it's not. Some people think that, I just keep it real. No, that's not true. And sometimes keeping it real doesn't mean it's true. It's not about being honest with yourself either. It's actually a way to beat yourself up and unnecessarily stripping away both your power and your control. Replace all or nothing statements with more realistic and empowering thoughts. Replace those thoughts with ones that are more affirming. So instead of using language like I always make a mistake, I always make a mess, I am so bad at relationships, I never get it right. How about I am in gratitude for the lessons learned in that relationship. I will do better and expect better in my next. I am excited about starting over. Both statements confirm that the relationship didn't work out well. Both relationships say, yeah, I failed at it. It didn't work. It's okay. But one leaves you in a place of hopelessness because if you never have good relationships, and you always fail in relationships, then your mind says, well, what's the point in trying? And so even if you get in the next one, you're not wholeheartedly putting your love and your heart and mind and soul into the relationship, because you already know it never succeeds. Whereas the second statement, I will do better and expect better in my next, gives yourself an open door to be better and to do better and to potentially have a better relationship. And maybe the next one won't be successful. Maybe you'll need another one and another one. Some of us need 3 or 4 before we get it right. Some people need more than that. But always give yourself the grace to be able to start over and do better. Here's another one. Stop analysis paralysis. This is me. I raise my hand here. This is the one that I have to work on moment by moment in my life. And although I've been working on it for years, moment by moment, I have to stop and take a deep breath and talk to myself. Do you know that over-preparing and over-analyzing situations are a form of procrastination? If you're triggered by that word, it's okay. We don't have to use that one. But these habits are at least avoidance behavior. Does that one sound better for you? Avoidance behavior? Don't allow waiting for things to be perfect to thwart your joy. You deserve happiest at its earliest availability. Set up cutoff dates so you can get what you want. Give yourself a definite movement date that will encourage you to focus on your plans and spur you into action. The time is now. Go get it. So I have a friend who is older and she's single, and she's trying to find her way in the world like most of us are in the second half of our lives. And she's ready to date and she wants to go to networking events to meet new people. And so when we spoke, it's like, yeah, going to networking events is a little bit more comfortable. It's not as personable, although it can be. And she agrees that she's going to go. We chat a couple of weeks later, and I'm like, have you gone to a networking event? No, I haven't. I haven't had time. I'm going to do it. Maybe another month goes by. She still hasn't. So I'm like, make the decision right now if you want to go to a networking, if you want to meet new people or not. She says yes. Okay, that decision is made. Now make the decision that you're going to go. You're going to attend a networking event. Make the decision right now. She says yes. So now I say, go online, find a networking event, open your calendar and see one that play nicely together. And she did. So now say, for example, on Tuesday, May 26th, no matter how unprepared I feel, no matter how reserved and shy I feel, I'm going to the networking event and I will be present and I will stand in my authentic brilliance. And I am not attached to any outcome. I'm just going to be present. Set a date, set a time, set your intention and make it clear because you are worthy. You don't have to wait your turn. Get it now because you earned it. So the other mindset that I would like for you to consider is being aware of the feedback loop. This is the big one because this one is the one that starts people on this journey of not pursuing their dreams and not going after what they truly want in life. So let me ask you, are you in the habit of collecting feedback and asking for opinions of others before you make moves? Do you usually ask friends, family, Facebook friends, or group members for their thoughts and opinions before making decisions? If you've added a psychic or going on Twitter to your list, the answer is yes. Beginning today, may I ask you to drastically cut the number of people that you consult with before making a decision. Select the most trusted advisors to request advice. Be mindful to listen to those that have the emotional intelligence, experience, and expertise to really help you move forward. Surround yourself with allies who can provide fair, objective, honest feedback from a place of honor and love. In the end, always know that you are the best decision maker for yourself. You understand better than anyone else the nuances of your life. You actually know exactly what you need, but you must have the courage to seek it, the courage to declare it, and the empowerment to go get it. And you don't need permission. Stand tall and go get what you want because you are worthy. And sometimes you may have to reframe those negative thoughts in order to go get it. Some of us have damage that's already done. Negative family environments or habits from a toxic relationship may have left you with poor processing skills. Being passed over for an overdue promotion can negatively impact your self-esteem at work. Having a frenemy from high school that betrayed you, but you're still friends with her and you still have her in your life and she ignores the hell out of you. All of those keep you stuck in this negative framework of how you process. Whatever causes you to adopt the habit of negative thoughts can be overturned. Starting today, that doom and gloom headspace can be reversed by reframing. First, bring the negative thought to your awareness. Label it. Take a negative habitual thought, filter it in an objective manner through the light of reality, self-love, and what's real. Then replace that non-affirming space with realistic positive thoughts. So things like when you say to yourself, I always screw up. How about, as a human, I sometimes make mistakes, but I will do better when I know better. Where do we get that from? Auntie Oprah? Do better when you know better. Allow yourself the grace to start over. And there's one thing about being a brand, is you can always rebrand. You can change your mind whenever you get ready. You can rebrand your story as often as you like because it's yours. It belongs to you. What you need is the power of self-esteem to rebrand your story. Self-esteem is the most popular essence within the self-care paradigm because it's often the most visible. Self-esteem is about your overall opinion of yourself. It's simply about how you feel about not only your limitations, but also your abilities. Self-esteem is the overall sense of personal value. It's how you interpret your worthiness. Self-esteem is a notion of how precious you believe yourself to be. When you have healthy self-esteem, you are self-aware. You are willing to do the work of self-care to make sure you appreciate yourself. You are clear about who you are and what value you bring to the world. Having a healthy self-esteem influences what inspires you, what motivates you, and what drives you to be your best and expect the best. Your self-esteem is the perfect reflection of your personal brand. Guard it, nurture it, guide it, protect it, love it, because it is you. I mentioned earlier that sometimes many of us, most of us, have experienced some type of trauma and upheaval in our lives. For me, it was a dual whammy. At the end of 2005, most of 2005, I had been sick, and the doctors could not figure out what was wrong. I was misdiagnosed several times. And finally, probably around November of 2005, I was given the diagnosis of lupus. And if you're not familiar with lupus, it's an autoimmune disease. And flares are triggered by stress, for one. And you have to adopt a holistic lifestyle, like no processed foods, how you eat, how you manage stress, how to care for your mental health, your physical health, your overall well-being has to become a priority. A month later, I find out that my mother hadn't been to work. The police came to my house to tell me her job was concerned. I go to her house and I find her, she's deceased. Those two things totally upheavaled my life. It took me from going to work, managing bills, taking care of my family, taking care of a household, managing a team, to now sitting in the floor trying to figure out, what the hell am I doing? Why am I here? What do I do next? I had to figure out how to go from upheaval to calm. So just like I know, life is uncertain. One moment you're moving along through your daily habits and routines, and the next moment your life is interrupted in a significant way. You're shocked, you're floundering, and you're overwhelmed. This is the point when you realize you're experiencing an upheaval. Initially, you may not know what to do when your life feels like an earthquake has come through it. It's important to clear your head so you can better cope with and how to regain your equilibrium. You need to learn the things you can do right now if you're experiencing an extreme agitation in your life. The first thing to know is that you're not alone. And maybe consider implementing some mindfulness joy. Life interruptions of all sizes cause us stress, anxiety, and an overall sense of insecurity. Studies suggest that mindfulness may help you manage stress, better cope with upheavals, as well as help reduce anxiety and depression. So mindfulness is the experiencing of just being in the now, just in this moment. What's happening right now? What can I control right now? It's not about focusing on the past, because you can't go back and change it, we obviously know. You examine the past, you reflect on the past, and you extract the lessons that you need to move you forward. We can't focus too much of our attention, too much of our resources on the future. We're not there yet. It hasn't happened. And you don't know what other external factors are going to implement changes in your life. So you don't need to spend too much time on your future. You plan what you want. You set the intention for what you want. But the most important moment is right now. Because what you do right now is going to set the motion, set the path for the future. So I want you to join me on this journey to learn how to practice mindfulness for relaxation, to improve your self-esteem, and how to gain greater enthusiasm for life, even if you're in the midst of an upheaval. Part of what we should do on our journey to joy is we have to learn how to have assertive talks with ourselves. If you think about it for a moment, think about the things that you say to yourself. Do you speak kindly to yourself? Are you overly critical? Do you call out your flaws regularly? If we spoke to our friends in the way that we sometimes speak to ourselves, we would not maintain good relationships. Negative self-talk impacts your life more ways than you can see on the surface. Negative self-talk is the inner dialogue that thwarts your ability to believe in yourself. It makes you second-guess your abilities to make good decisions and to choose things for your highest good. Yeah, that's how we end up with that dude we had no business talking to. That's how we end up in a thankless job doing tasks that you don't get credit for doing and you don't get the pay that you deserve. Change the conversation that you have with yourself in order to increase your confidence and reach your highest potential. Let me give you an example of what this looks like, because it just happened the other day. I'm cleaning up because we were getting ready for the holiday season. And my grandmother always taught us that when the new year comes in, your life has to be in order because that's how it's going to carry out for the entire year. So everything has to be cleaned, no dirty clothes. You have to clean under the bed, in the closet, clean your curtains, get your carpets shampooed. And so that's what I was doing in the last probably week or so, preparing my home for 2023. And I happened to look up and I passed the mirror, and I know consciously, I know in my mind that my face is bloated and I'm retaining water and I have inflammation because I have a chronic illness that requires me to take medication that causes me to bloat. And even though my brain knows that, I still looked in the mirror and I said, oh my God, I look terrible. I've got to get this weight off me. Oh, my face looks so fat and round. I can't stand it. What am I going to do with my hair? This haircut makes my face look even squarer. My son is walking by and he says, "Who are you talking to?" So I said, "Oh, I'm not talking to you," because I would never want him to think that I would say such harsh words to him. Of course, I don't want him to think that I think he looks a mess. So I'm very defensive. "No, son, I'm not talking to you." And he says, "I know, but who are you talking to?" And I'm like, "I'm talking to myself." And he says, "Why? Why are you talking to yourself like that?" And I thought, that's a good question. Why am I talking to myself that way? I go back and I look in the mirror and I look myself in the mirror and I say, "Girl, I'm sorry. I have no business speaking to you that way. You know that I know that you're beautiful. You're beautiful just as you are. And I am in gratitude to be able to stand here before you with a swollen face and know that you are still beautiful. And the grace of God that I am still here and that I am present to be in front of this mirror. Thank you. Thank you for your tenacity. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for loving yourself enough to undergo the medical treatment that you need and you still survive. Thank you for getting up every day even though you're tired, even though you're in pain. Thank you, because you are beautiful. Yes, girl, you are beautiful." See, I have to change the way I speak to myself. Think about carrying some of the words that we say to ourselves around every day, day after day, what it does to your mind, what it does to your psyche. So I implore you to change the conversation that you have with yourself in order to increase your confidence and reach your highest potential. Join me on this journey to learn the habits to improve your life with positive self-talk. It's time to be brave, stand tall, and live in your authentic brilliance. And you must trust yourself. You must have faith. Worry is the guest that shows up at an event and stays for too long. Don't worry about those simple things in life that we blow up to make them look big, like whether or not my face is bloated. Girl, I'm glad to be alive. I don't have time to worry about if my face is fat or not. I am glad to be here present and breathing. I'm glad to be mobile and up and being able to walk on my own. Water retention is the least of my worries at this point. So worry comes along and it stays for a while. Most of us don't mind terribly when it comes and goes. We're kind of used to worrying. The problem comes when we allow worry to set up shop and camp out and stay for a while, or for some to move in indefinitely. The worry cycle takes over your thoughts. It exploits your emotional state and causes further disruption in your life. If the worry cycle is left unattended, it may cause you to feel anxious and avoid situations that need your attention. Don't bury your head in the sand in avoidance because you're so busy worrying about things that you can't control or things that don't rise up to the level of needing your attention at this moment. Learn how to find long-term relief, reduce anxiety, and ways to break that worry cycle. You deserve peace. You deserve joy. So let's go get it. Let's develop the inner peace habit. It's a continuous workout to build your mental muscle that allows you to live emotionally and spiritually at peace. When you have the mental strength to help you fight those triggers that spiral you into moments of stress, anxiety, and depression, girl, you are winning. Live authentically and boldly in order to feel fulfilled and have a content life. So on this journey of 10 Faces of She, learn the habits of obtaining and maintaining inner peace. So we have come to the end of my first 10 Faces of She podcast. And if you're still here with me, thank you. Thank you for making it to the end. We pushed through it and we did it together. Yes. And we're going to celebrate that. And so I'm sure I'll play this back and I'll hear stumbles and I'll hear places where I lost my train of thought. I'll hear my daughter's dog barking in the background. It doesn't matter. It's okay. Because one thing about life is we can't get stuck on those small things, those insignificant things. We have to push forward because joy is that important. Being peaceful is that important. Being happy is that important. We don't worry about the small things. We're going to push forward, and I thank you for being here with me. Your personal brand is the roadmap of your heart, mind, and soul. You go be brilliant. Be brilliant from the inside out. Don't let anyone dim your light. Shine on, girl. Stand tall and go get it. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to talking with you and getting to know you on this journey. Hit me up, send me an email, shoot me a text, and of course, I have to say, visit my website at andreacallahan.com. Thank you. You be well.